I feel like the more I come here, the more tasks I get given to do.
Oh, so you should.
I suppose so. This is fair. Just FYI, for the second week running, even though we had a gap last week, they're doing more roadworks at Lincoln Road.
That must be
getting on the motorway, not just when I get home. It merges into one lane.
You're holding me responsible for the roadworks.
Just saying, it takes a little bit longer to get here.
I do go to all the public forum meetings and say, can you make sure
on a Monday or a Sunday,
Monday nights, just want that shit closed down. Yeah, it's me. I feel like I'm quite far away. Am I far away?
You're just short.
Yeah, I'm not short. I'm not short.
You know.
Yeah, what irritates me about my height?
No.
I've been 5'11" since I was about 15.
You just wanted that magic 6?
Yeah, I was really on a good. And at 15,
just people petered out.
At 15, people were like, "Shit, you're tall," and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But then I just, I was never short.
Okay.
But yeah, I just want that little 6 foot.
I've noticed.
I know people round up, but I just can't.
I've never really felt objectified.
I objectify you all the time, you sexy piece of ass.
Okay. I've never felt objectified by strangers.
Oh, yeah?
Until I had kids.
Yes.
And they look at me, and then they look at the kids. It's happened twice. One was a diving coach, because I take my kids to swimming lessons. Mm-hmm. One of the diving coaches, because my kids don't do diving, stopped us and was like, "You're going to be tall like your old man? You should do diving." He visibly looked me up and down, looked my son up and down, and was like, you got some tall genes. You can be a diver. Apparently that's a thing. I never knew that was a thing.
But also, is that objectification, or is that just trying to...
He looked me up and down like a piece of meat.
Yeah, he was checking out your genetics.
Yes, that's objectify.
But he was like, your dad's tall, and I want to bum him hard. That's objectifying.
No, objectifying can be more than just sexual objectifying.
You're a tall object as opposed to a short object.
Exactly. And then the other day,
that's why you're upset about that.
I'm not upset about it.
You sounded upset.
I'm celebrating it. I've never been objectified. I finally get objectified.
I think the word objectifying generally has a lot of negative connotations around it.
How about I put it? I've never had someone really kind of look me up and down and then go, "Oh, that's some tasty jeans."
I have. I've been objectified.
Second time was dancing class.
Oh, yes.
The dancing teacher, even though I've been to my daughter's dancing class, was like, "Oh, are you the dad, are you?" And I was like, "Yes." And she was, maybe she's looking at my daughter going, "Doesn't look like you." But she was like, "Oh, yes. Oh, your daughter's going to be tall. Tall dancers are the best dancers." My daughter does ballet.
Right. Right. And your wife isn't short either, is she?
What sports are you like, "Oh, you're too tall for this"? Like gymnastics, right? Gymnastics, it's better to
jockey. If you're a jockey, you can't be too tall. If you are a wrestler, I think you want to be a little bit more sort of lower center of gravity.
You're talking like actual wrestling, not WWE?
Yeah, no.
Because those guys are giants.
Not jumping off the top rope.
Not like The Undertaker.
What other jobs? What other professions? You know what's... the old days when if you wanted to be an air hostess, you had to like be a certain height and a certain weight or something like that. They got rid of that.
They still do that in China.
Really?
Yeah, the recruiters come to the university campus. Any girls who are interested, it's girls only. Any girls who are interested, there might be some guys, but I mean the recruiting only is girls.
Attracted.
Yeah, I mean this is a few years ago now, but the recruiter come to campus, and then of all the girls who come, they'll be like, "And this group of girls will proceed with you to like the second level," and it's all just on their looks.
I think, I'm not worried about their looks and stuff. Of course, real humans is like, "Oh, damn, she's pretty fine," but it's not exactly like you're gonna like freaking.
I want my in-flight Coke served by someone who is attractive. I cannot take ugly person Coke.
The only thing that gets me now is like it does pay to be a little bit smaller and a little bit nimble if you're going up and down those aisles. I feel conscious when I'm going up and down those aisles. I'm smacking people in the side of the head with my fat ass. Like, and then you get a air hostess or hosted, big freaking massive.
Big units.
Big units coming in, and you're like, every time they go by, you're like, whoa.
It's not good.
Yeah. So, but you can't do that.
On the rare occasion I'm traveling by myself on a plane and some stranger sits next to me, you can see the visible look on them. "Oh, for God's sake. Those legs are going to be sticking into me the whole flight. This tall bastard."
I told you that story, though, didn't I? But the end of that story where I shat myself in Sydney.
Yes.
Yeah, when I sat down
and
next to
that guy was just like, for F's sake.
Yeah. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I just said to him, oh, mate, I'm sorry.
At least you're up
I
front.
shat myself today. Anyway, if you want to see the full version of that story,
That was on a previous episode of this
Yeah,
podcast. This is a podcast, by the way.
it's about rugby as well. You might
We are
not
going to
be
get to the rugby. There's a lot of rugby to
There
talk
is a
about.
lot of rugby.
But this podcast is not just on YouTube, not just on my channel and your channel, but it's on...
That's how it works. 1 week on his, 1 week on mine. For those of you who get confused by it.
Yeah, why is this fortnightly? It's mostly weekly.
Yeah. Why has he got this weird guy on his channel every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Um,
Spotify,
iHeartRadio,
Apple Podcasts.
Stitcher.
Can I just read out to you a couple of the ratings we got from people
We
who
got
actually,
ratings?
people actually left some reviews? Have
Oh,
you read
wow.
these?
No.
If anyone is keen, like,
love it.
yeah, we'd love you to leave a rating. So one of them said...
Can you send me the screenshot and I'll stick it
Okay,
up there.
one of them's honest review. Well, they know how to put words together and make sentences. One of them
5
was
stars?
5 stars.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
5 stars. Good chat from 2 funny guys. Keep it up from Wales.
Oh, right. Okay.
One of them
thank
was great. The URC is the best league.
you. Okay,
One
cool.
of them said as Kiwi as it gets.
Right.
And the other one said, MLR enthusiasts. Speaking of both of
Oh,
us.
yeah,
Love
right.
the pod, good humour, good rugby chat. One small problem is I can't quite tell if their love for the MLR is genuine or a running joke.
I love the hand jackets. It's a bit of both.
It's a bit of both. We are going to get to some MLR at the end. But there's some other rugby we're going to talk first.
Yes, there was some big rugby after. I feel like a man who has been in the desert for a couple of weeks, dying of thirst.
You finally quenched it.
I've found a tropical oasis of rugby, and yeah, what a weekend of. Oh, actually, I would have. As a neutral, I would have preferred a little bit more tighter clashes, and I'm sure if you're a neutral of the Argentina All Black game, you would have liked that to be a little bit tighter, because I don't think there weren't that many blowouts in the Six Nations, but those that was a opening weekend of blowouts.
Yeah, there were some impressive results, but neither of them were edge of your seat stuff. But they were still impressive, impressive in their own right.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about it.
South Africa.
Yeah.
I'm wearing their jacket for a reason. 43-12.
Very, very impressive.
That's the B team.
Is it really the B team?
Not really. People kept calling it the B team. I was getting messages from people saying, have you seen the Boks B team, before I'd actually seen the lineup? And I looked at the lineup and I was like, it's not B team. You got Lacanio Arm in there.
Yeah, that's
You got, Bongi Mbanambi. He's not like the B team guy. He starts more often than not. Franz Malherbe, it's not a B team.
Yeah.
Admittedly, they were without Etzebeth and
I really like that guy.
Colby
Not Aronson. I like Aronson, but what's the name of the other?
Moody.
I like Moody.
You like a bit of Moody, don't you?
I love the cut of his jib. He's an absolute star.
He didn't get the tries, but it was good to see them spread the freaking ball.
Well, that's what the thing that I noticed about both of the games. The All Blacks set piece was incredible, and then the Boks, who usually have an amazing set piece, they did have a great set piece in this game. We're running the ball. I was like, what are you doing?
That wide play was just so hard to live with.
Yeah, and I think that all the homework that the Aussies had done had been around, stopping that the box kicking and all that sort of stuff. But it just left these big gaping holes around the rucks, and they used them to full advantage and gave the ball some air, and they've got some very classy outside backs.
Oh, yeah. My dad has been on at them for a couple of years now. Why don't they use their bloody wingers? He loves guys like Colby, and Arons is kind of a similar cut to
very, very
to Colby. You get very kind of similar vibes from him.
Bit of a clone, really.
Yeah, Gaz has been dead keen for them to do it, and boy, did they do it this time.
They looked good.
Yeah.
I thought they were pretty amazing all around. Yeah, very, very dominant across the park.
Second half, they were just...
Yeah, I thought there was definitely the most dominant team on the park. I thought there were a couple of crucial decisions that may or may not have changed the sway of the game and at crucial moments. The first try, not by the Wallabies, but Korobeti's try was great, by the way.
Yeah.
The first try to Aronza that he got, I thought there was a pretty clear knock-on in the lead-up to that.
Yeah.
I thought, and I was like, that's a knock-on. 9 times out of 10, the ref calls that as a knock-on. It didn't even seem to go back and check it. So I thought that...
Surely the TMO would have checked it in the background. They usually
but they did, but it was one of those ones, I think they did check it, but it's one of those ones that's 50-50 and it's on the field. and it hasn't been called, so they've gone, well,
We'll just leave it.
we'll just leave it. Like would have been difficult to go the way. And then the other call was at the very end of that half. Hooper did a long pass out to, I can't remember who, and then it got into the hands of Corin Betty, and he pretty much had a clear run to the line, but Ben O'Keefe called it a forward pass.
Right.
And I was like, if they got that try right at that moment, then they go on with a bit of momentum. The scoreline's really, really tight. And I thought those were two crucial moments that kind of broke the back of the Aussies, and then it was a pretty piss poor effort from there.
So maybe not as doom and gloom as the scoreline might suggest?
Maybe not. And
I mean, if Hodgie kicks some of those kicks in the first half, scoreline looks a bit better.
Boy,
you don't have that kind of desperation.
Boy, that was a hostile Loftus.
Oh, man, the atmosphere was cracking. I know you didn't get up at the crack of
I certainly did not.
3 o'clock for it, but I did. And I had the old wireless headphones on playing the anthems as I was making my coffee and my toast.
I didn't even watch the anthems.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, usually, if I'm watching on demand, I skip the anthems.
Yeah.
I even skip the haka. I just let's get to the game.
You don't like to listen to Goldie go on and on and on about what the keys to success are going to be, or something.
No, just
like
get to the kickoff.
Right. Yeah.
Just give me the
meat.
Give me the meat, basically. Yeah,
Give me the shaft. Give me the balls.
Even as I was just making my toast, I was like, "Ooh, this is tasty." I could feel the atmosphere. I wasn't even looking at the screen; you could feel it. So
As soon as I sort of saw the crowd and I saw how loud they were, and just giving it to the Australians at every mistake, like it just felt like a horrible place to play if you were an opposition team. And they were in it for maybe the first 35 minutes, and then it just all went to absolute pose. Who for you? Where did it go wrong for the Wallabies, and what's your biggest concern for them?
I mean, too many handling errors was concerning. Like, that's just kind of basic skills, and their discipline just continues to be sugar.
Yeah, total shit.
Like, it's just,
can we shit?
Yeah, okay, we can shit.
We can shit.
Sorry for the kids listening, but yeah, we might shit from.
We always shit in yours. We don't F in yours.
That's true.
We don't.
But bleep that one. Yeah, it's like that's the same problems they had on the Dave Rennie. Like just kind of dumb. Like some of it was a one really soft offside one. Some of the times just not rolling away. Just like I remember in the game after when I see Sam Cane, who was just flying into tackles, he would make a hit and you'd see him just like energize a bunny, like roll out of the way, just move.
They didn't have that.
And
hustle.
that's what Eddie Jones is supposed to love about guys. He loves guys who've got that hustle. Once they've made an action, be it a tackle or a carry or whatever, you get up and get back into the game because you're no good on the ground.
Yeah.
Nah, it just seemed...
They were a little bit lack that intensity, didn't they? Which is a little alarming to see.
Yeah.
I thought Will Skelton looked okay for the most part. He moved his big body around the place.
Marika chases everything.
Yeah,
He busts some tackles like he
Hooper,
does.
Hooper always tries hard.
The other Hooper didn't even last 40 minutes. I don't know if that was injury or just technical.
I didn't think. Speaking of Hoopers, Coopers, and Poopers, I didn't think quite.
He was quiet.
He was quiet.
He kicked a couple of poor ones out. Like one of them dropped it out on the full.
I think if you're going to get a 37-year-old to get out there who used to be like a mercurial kind of genius player, you've got to expect a little bit more creativity or something. It just all seems
especially when you see Carter Gordon come on for the little time he got.
Yeah,
and he made a try.
He looked great. Yeah. And that was entirely made by him. He was the one who put the kick ahead, didn't he? And
kicks through for Corin Betty.
And
he runs the support line. So.
If you consider where the Australians were this time, not this time last year, but at the end of last year under Rennie, where they pushed the French incredibly close at Stamford.
They had a few close losses.
And they had
Ireland, I think.
A close loss to Ireland.
Yeah.
And I think they either beat Scotland or England or something.
Yeah.
And then I think they looked like a worse team.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it's the first game.
So how much do you read into it?
There's meant to be a bit of rust. But, and South Africa, the big scary thing for me is obviously been dominant in set piece for a long, long time. And that's their bread and butter. But this ability to play heads-up footy and see when it's on.
Which is what their fans have been calling for so long. Like, they get really frustrated with guys who are, like, very capable kickers of the ball, like Faf de Klerk. Like, loves a wee box kick. Yeah. Villy LaRue likes to put the kicks through. Pollard has got a big old boot.
Yeah.
Like, the fans will see it, like, look, overlap. And then, no, why are you doing that? But, yeah, we didn't see that from them in this game so much.
So the players
and Esterhuizen, jeez, and the big number 12.
Yeah, he's
filling in for Dale Indy.
He looked like was putting his hand up in a big way. I think a lot of those players, these
Yeah.
so-called B team.
The Lucy's, I mean, Van Staden comes in for Khaleesi.
Who
He
are
was
the
busy.
There was one of the locks I didn't recognize.
Oh, Klein.
Is that the Irishman? He got a start. Wow. Well, do you reckon, was that to cap him so there's literally no chance?
I think because because they didn't want to start Snyman because he's been injured for as long as he has.
Yeah.
He's only just kind of back fit. I don't think they wanted
That's
to
the
risk
Munster
starting
man,
him.
yeah, the guy that looks like a bit of a...
Yeah, the Viking. And
Yeah.
then they sent Etzebeth, Mostert to New Zealand early. So I think the locking stocks were maybe a little bit depleted.
So
and that's the one area you looked at it and you're like, you got Klein on South African debut and Ori, who's not played that many games for the Boks, albeit he's played some good URC rugby. And you got Will Skelton, who's just a behemoth.
Yeah.
And then Nick Frost, who's also a pretty big guy.
But they felt no pressure at line-out time. Like, you think maybe this could have been the time. And the Wallabies still conceded a number of scrum penalties as well, didn't they? So,
yeah,
a little bit worrying. Really.
worrying.
Yeah.
It's one game, so I'm kind of torn as to, because like it was, especially the second half was just poor.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's only a handful of games to go before the World Cup, but I don't think we write them off just
No,
yet.
I don't think we quite put a line through them, and I think Eddie will still have a bit of eddying to do, a bit of jonesing. No, Mark, no, Nawita, Mark,
Nawini Tawase, no.
Mark, Nawita,
Yeah, he
Mark,
wasn't there.
Nawita Nawasi. No.
No, he wasn't there.
Just not
They played Vuni Valu.
Yeah,
Maybe expecting some high balls, like you said, but because there was a little bit of talk about like he's up against Aronsa, and he's a much bigger unit than Aronsa is. So
and there was very little of
is he going to flatten Aronsa? Like,
the answer is no. Aronsa had a blinder. I really liked that little off the line out maul down the
the little
side.
Van Staden peels
Yeah,
off,
also-
gives it to Bongi and then to
yeah,
Aronsa. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was very tasty. And to be fair, the two Wallabies tries were pretty tasty.
That's right.
The Corambetti try.
Corambetti one was a kind of heads up play that was line out steal, which Alatoa just kind of pounced on.
Yeah, if that game is played in, let's say that game is played in Suncorp, what's the score?
I think that Loftus crowd was at least worth 10 points.
Yeah.
And then Suncorp's got to be worth 5 or 10 for the Wallabies, but I still think South Africa win it.
So the Wallabies still win that 30 points to 15 or something like that.
Boks, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, the Springboks.
I think so. I think a lot of teams would have struggled to live with them the way they were playing.
Yeah, they played bloody well. And that's impressive to consider. Like, first game of the season, not many signs of rust, not a lot of drop ball from them.
It's one of the interesting things that's like, when you look at the four sides, like the Pumas have brought in some of their sevens big guns who are apparently red hot players who aren't quite ready to play 15s just yet, but that's Cheeks' goal. The All Blacks have brought in a few debutants, and like Narawa, they've got Stevenson there as injury cover, but they've brought in some new guys. The Wallabies with new coach brought in some new guys. The Boks are the only ones, apart from Klein, who's played Test rugby for Ireland. They were like, nah, we've already got this.
We've got our team.
We've already. This is what we've been doing the last year. We already did the prep. Now it's too late for the prep. Now is like the warm up.
Yeah, and I think
So maybe they are just a step ahead of the others at the moment. I don't know, but the All Blacks still look pretty sharp.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, the thing I couldn't get over was that the air they were giving it. And do you reckon that's a definitive sort of direction they're going in now? That they're going, okay, well, because they haven't had a wildly flash record recently. Every time they've played one of the teams they're going to face at a knockout game on this side of the pool, whether it be us, the
French.
Boks, so us, the Irish, or the French, they've lost all those games. So are they considering, well, maybe we do need to change our stripes a little bit here? We need to bring something else to the table.
Maybe it's just been a plan from year on year, just to kind of build it layer by layer.
Adding some more wrinkles, yeah?
Yeah, don't just play one-dimension rugby like you don't want to get figured out before the World Cup. Teams think they've got you figured out. You bring a new aspect to your game.
And it's definitely worth mentioning as well that this weekend there was another massive sporting occasion between an Australian and a South African, which hopefully builds a little bit more interest in the UFC in South Africa, so I can maybe weasel into doing some of that content that way. Dricus Duplessis.
You like your UFC.
I love my UFC. I haven't watched the fight yet, but I know who won. Spoiler alert for the UFC 290. Dricus Duplessis beat Robert Whittaker, Bobby Knuckles, the Reaper. An absolute fantastic fighter. He's the former middleweight champ. And basically they were fighting to see who was going to have the right to challenge for the title against Israel Adesanya. So Dricus won the fight in the second round. By all respects, pretty dominantly.
Knockout or
no
submission? TKO?
Well, yeah, it was a finish, so it was either not. I don't think it might have been a TKO. Yeah, which is, and no, it doesn't often happen to Bobby Knuckles. Bobby Knuckles has lost to Israel Adesanya twice, but just beats everybody else. He slows the division up because nobody can beat him.
Right, so nobody else can get a shot at Israel.
So he finally has been beaten. He's a former champion himself. So getting Dricus on board, and there's a massive rivalry building between those two fighters because Israel Adesanya is proudly born in Kenya and
Nigeria.
That's right. Thank you, Kenya. And he often talks about being an African. He's lived in New Zealand since he was like 12 or something like that. So he's also, pretty much a Kiwi too. But he, he's proudly African. Whereas Dricus said that one of his goals was to be the first African middleweight champion.
Israel didn't like that.
And that pissed off Israel Adesanya and also Kamaru Usman, who was born in Nigeria too, and also at the time Francis Ngannou, that beast of a man. So this white South African saying he wants to, because he's saying I'm the only one of these guys who's
right, because he's actually based in South Africa, right?
He's the only one who's trained in South Africa. So there's a lot of bad blood there already. Israel came into the cage afterwards and they got up in each other's face. Build the theater.
UFC does that kind of storyline really well.
Yeah, and there'll be a bunch of theater around it. So yeah, great weekend for victories of South Africans versus Australians. Even though the Australian Bobby Knuckles was born in New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
He's a Māori.
Okay.
But he grew up
in Australia.
He's
Aussie. You got Aussie twang and everything.
There's a lot of, you could make one of your where these UFC fighters were born videos, basically.
Foreign-born UFC fighters.
Yeah, that'll get a lot of views.
I wonder if people would care. I don't know. Like, countries don't import UFC fighters to strengthen their teams. So
yeah, well, you don't fight for your own nation.
You fight for yourself, basically.
But they rep their
their country, but like New Zealand's not enticing Nigerian fighters to come and rep that Kiwi flag.
Yeah, they tried to get the Adesanya family over when they were 12.
Yeah.
Well, when he was 12.
One more thing about the South African Aussie game, which has kind of been a wee bit of a headline. I'm not sure if you saw the post-match press conference. But
yes, I actually liked that.
Because I don't think that Eddie ever used the words B team. Like, he has had a little bit of the stuff being put in his mouth, but I
didn't watch a lot of the pre-match.
He said it in a roundabout way that he said he wants to play their best team.
So tell the people what actually happened in this prime press conference.
So one of the South African journos in the post-match kind of brings it up to Eddie and says,
very smarmy way, very Itarsi sort of way.
What do you think about that kind of B team now?
Yeah, he was like, I bet you're glad that you had to play that so-called B team. And he was just like...
First, he was like, I know South Africans are good winners, because he was going to take it politely. And then he was just like, don't be a smart ass.
Don't be a smart ass.
And apparently he bailed him up on the way out. Yeah.
I saw the footage on the way out and he was like, you got to have some respect, mate. No one likes a smart ass. Don't be a smart ass. And then there's deathly quiet across the thing. He's like, that was just some smart ass shit. And it was. It really was.
He was poking the bear.
I love a bit of that stuff. A little bit of, now the guy's going to have a write-up on him saying that, he's obviously mentally frail or whatever's going to go. And then he'll bounce back in a bit of verbal
Is that a good storyline for rugby, though?
Absolutely. It's human interest. Like, give me a bit of testes and balls and people being dicks and people being irritated by stuff. It can't all just be like they were just about a team on the day. We'll have to go back to the drawing board. Get irritated, get angry, and that's what to be honest, that's what the Aussie coaches bring us. Checker and Jones. They show the humanity a little bit,
That's why some people don't like them, but that's why I kind of find Eddie's press conference and Michael Checker's more interesting to watch.
It was a bad weekend for Australian coaches and the Australian team, and also Australian fighters. Other than, Alexander Volkanovski, very proud Australian. He beat Rodriguez in the main event. Yeah, so
where's he from?
He's from Wollongong.
No, the other guy, the Rodriguez.
I think he is. He's a Mexican.
So they didn't have a rugby team playing at the weekend?
No. Well, they might have.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, you know what's going on, and
Mexican rugby is a bit lower on the priorities.
Maybe there were a couple of Mexicans in the MLR.
Probably.
Maybe one or two.
There'll
maybe.
be a connection.
Yeah. Sure, we could draw it somewhere.
The other Rugby Championship game was a very similar scoreline. It was 41-12 instead of 43-12, so very, very similar.
The
All
Argentinians
Blacks,
won the second half.
they did win the second half, 12 points to 10.
Yeah.
So the second half was actually a contest, which was a little bit of a difference from the Aussie Boks game, which was kind of bookended by Aussie tries, but the rest of it was pretty much the Boks.
One-way traffic. Whereas the All Blacks just went into...
They ran riot in the first half.
They went into God mode for about 38 minutes.
And then just kind of went back to...
And then it felt like, I think they I don't know. I don't think the All Blacks played particularly badly in that second half. I think the Argentinians just were like, oh, yeah, this is Test match rugby. We're going to get our heads back into it. And they just
They
started...
were pretty bad in the first half.
They were terrible in the first half.
They just looked all at sea.
Yeah, they looked like a team that hadn't had a single training session.
Yeah, they'd just been chucked out on the pitch.
They're just, all right, guys, go and just play some footy, see what happens. The first thing that kind of caught my eye was I don't think I've ever seen an All Black team in all my years be... Like, the All Black teams have had great forwards, they've had great locks, they've had great props, but they're not known as a wildly dominant set-piece team. They're not known as a wildly dominant scrum team. They do what they need to do on their own set ball. The scrum is merely there to set our backs up.
Yeah.
But they were just getting penalties at will.
Yeah.
And... You know,
The
that
two Argentinian props were struggling.
just couldn't handle the jandle, and that's the... I think, I don't know, can you imagine? Can you remember a more dominant scrum performance from the All Blacks?
Not against a team. I mean, I know Argentina's scrum in recent years has not been that flash.
That used to be their thing.
It used to be their thing, like way back in like Ledesma's days. But in recent years, it's been, for tier 1 teams, it's been pretty ordinary. It's been a weakness rather than a strength. But I did feel like it had been getting better.
Yeah.
But geez, they were showing up in this game.
Yeah.
They're missing their big guy Cordella, and he's like 37. He's a big tight head prop. Whenever he props their scrum, they get parity.
Yeah, and that's all.
That's what minimum.
You got to have that.
Yeah, you need to have that. You can't just be coughing up penalties every time. But man, the All Blacks guys were just getting penalties for fun.
So we had Newell, and who was our others?
No, it was Lomax and De Groot.
Oh, and then Lahala and
Nepo Fussy came on,
and they weren't quite as dominant, but
they still, I think, won at least one or two. But yeah,
quite exceptional. And it was really weird because, you know, the All Blacks are known as this electrifying attacking team, and the Springboks are known as this incredible set piece dominant force.
A little bit flipped on its head, although the All Blacks had
I think both teams still did what they did.
Showed a bit more of the thing that they're not known for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and that was interesting to see, which sets up.
Very tasty one for next week.
We'll talk about that soon. But boy, I've got a full on Calendaris
for that one. Now that it's the Rugby Championship season, you might have to pick a new player for your old Calendarises.
You know what? I've got a Sam Cane. I've got a Sam Cane because that Sam Cane, captain, my captain. Boy, I can tell you what, I feel like I've done a bit of a 180 on him. Like, did you see, we'll talk about, sorry, I'm going a little bit ADHD here, but just the hits, the ferocity, the follow me boys. He was just
hitting anything. Anything that came into us is like...
He's just gone to a different level.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so good to see. So good to see in a World Cup year, and considering all the pressure he was under, he must have.
He knows.
He must have just freaking been training on Christmas Day.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like if he was just like, I never want to have the 2022 all over all the years. The only thing I can do is just be
tackle the house down.
And he's a bit Richie-ish and a little bit more physical.
He was brutal.
Yeah, and just playing so well. Oh, captain, my captain. Like, I'm really, really, really pleased.
What do you think of D-Mac at 10?
Apart
from the goal kicking.
Yeah, had a very forgettable first 10 minutes where he missed, like, because they scored 3 tries the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
which
he misses the conversion. I think he got the third one, maybe. Yeah, and he almost dropped, like, he got charged down within the first minute. Yeah,
but I thought he grew into the game and he set things up a little bit. But, you know,
finishes the game with 3 try assists, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and that's what I see. He grew into the game basically as it went on. But I think he just don't know if the nerves got him or if the black jersey got him or what. But he wasn't quite looking like, because everyone else was playing so incredibly well. Rieko Ioane was playing it very, very well. Outside backs were doing everything right. I thought Bodie, this is the best I've seen Bodie look all season, which is great. And
maybe he's a good fullback.
Yeah, maybe. He is, obviously he's a class player, class. But yeah, it was pretty close to like what I think Fozzie thinks is his best team. Apart from not having Whitelog out there, but I don't think Josh Lord.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think.
But Scotty Barrett was immense.
Yeah,
I think he was unlucky not to get man of the match.
Yeah. They gave it to
Geordie.
Geordie, and he played really
well as well. He set up.
I really do like him. I do like him at 12. He's a big
physical presence. He's got a big old boot on him.
Yeah, he's an imposing man. Yeah, I did really like the look.
I think he had one of the wraparound plays for.
Caleb Clark was looking nice. You know,
I thought he was a bit anonymous.
I thought he like
what did he do?
When he got go forward when he needed to, like I'm not a fan of his at the moment, but I was watching him being like, you should be Stevenson, but then every time he's going to catch the ball, he'd bump off one guy, and he didn't make any massive errors on defense. So, but I don't think he got the same sort of opportunities, and I know Narawa got that one try. I got that one try, but I don't think it was a massive game for the Wingers. I think we sort of cut them through the middle a lot of the times. I
think Narawa certainly had more carries than Clark managed to get. But yeah, you're right. Rieko, I think, only finished with like 3 passes throughout the game. That guy, he likes a carry. I think Geordie had like 12 or something, and Rieko has 3. So Rieko he doesn't always give it. What can I say?
Yeah, there were a couple of times where where I was like, just give it.
Yeah.
He is the quintessential ball hog. You're stopping such a hog, bro.
Yeah, I know. But then he scores a pretty nice try. You're like, okay, fine.
You are pretty good. He scored that lovely try, and he set up that first incision, didn't he? Which was just because he's still got all that gas.
I know. Even Dan Cole's like keeping up with things. Even though that was like a dead play anyway, it didn't matter. But geez,
yeah, I thought Colesy looked pretty bloody good out there.
A few guys who like the New Zealand rugby public's been hard on, like Kane, like Coles, like Bodie, all had pretty good games.
Yeah, 100%. It's not because I've always said this about Fozzie. He's just a quality coach. So I think...
How's your tattoo possibilities feeling now?
I think I'm pretty good. But not because I really want the All Blacks to win, but that's not the key criteria. Do not put a card up. That's one of the criteria.
Okay.
The other part of that criteria of that thing is the 75,000 views of a video that's on about 22,000 views.
Still a wee way to go.
And by the way,
all we need to get this to go viral.
For YouTube videos, just for peeking behind the curtain, parting the kimono, so to speak, they have their most important 24 hours is the first 24 hours generally. That's where you get
the lion's share of your views.
That's where you get a lot. And then it can, sometimes weird things can happen when you're starting. Things can pop off a little bit later, or depending upon the item, the topic, it can go off for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty comfortable.
It does happen every now and again. I did a video once when Rieko Ioane signed a new contract with the Blues like 3 years ago.
Yes.
And then he re-signed this year, and people started commenting on my,
can you do me a favor?
That was his last one where he re-signed.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
One of my favorite videos I've ever made.
Okay.
I'm a fan of my own channel.
Right.
Is a video I made about South Africa and the All Blacks history, and I want to promote it this week.
Okay.
Can you put a card there? It's about the rich history, modern history of South Africa versus the All Blacks, and why the relationship is so special.
It'll either be a card to Tony's video or a card 2 cents on tour where I'm in China and I went to the beer museum, which was a bit of a scam.
Can I just say one thing about South Africa while it's on my mind?
Okay.
Stephen Du Toit.
Steph Du Toit.
Yeah.
Former World Player of the Year.
I met a South African woman this week called, I won't say her first name, but her last name is Steph Du Toit.
Just Du Toit.
Her name is Du Toit, and I was like, Du Toit, it's bit of Steph Du Toit, and she's like, no, it's not Dutch, it's actually French. It's meant to be pronounced Du Toit.
Right.
But the South Africans, a lot of them pronounce it Du Toit, but it's Du Toit. So you
just want to start calling him Du Toit?
Yeah, you Du Twat. No, he's not a twat at all. He's just
a good game.
He's just a solid, nice fella.
Yeah.
Don't give me so much hate, South Africa.
I met at my daughter's old daycare.
Some twat?
One of the teachers, her surname was Nkosi.
Oh.
Like one of the Springboks players.
Yeah.
And I only found out, I'd known her for like 6 months or something. I was like, your name's Nkosi. And she's like, yeah. I was like, there's a Springbok named Nkosi. He's the man. And she's just like, without missing a beat, she's like, I'm the woman. I was like, damn.
Wow, it runs in the genetics of
There
that
you go.
family.
Yeah, she was cool as you like it. It was great.
Wow, good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit. There's a lot of South Africans over here. And
There
they're
are.
lovely. Lovely folks, South Africans. If you go to, if you're a South African and you're considering moving to New Zealand,
The North Shore or East Auckland.
Yeah, East Auckland, Howick, a lot of South Africans, and Browns Bay. How do they call it? With the South Browns Bay on the North Shore is very South African.
There's a few little. There are South African shops over here, like where you can get South African, you get biltong and other South African related snacks and beers. And
Browns
stuff.
Bay. I can't. For some reason, I can't do a South African accent saying Browns
It's a
Bay.
tricky one to do.
Oh, for starters, Bill. It's in Browns Bay. No, I'm absolutely butchering that. Speaking of meat.
So
back to the All Blacks in Argentina. Sorry, I went on
The
a
second
tangent.
half, Argentinians look a bit better.
Yeah.
Not all doom and gloom for them either. At least they had the turnaround within the game.
Yeah, I guess so. And then it's that thing, was it the All Blacks take their foot off
the gas.
Off
It's
the
hard to know,
gas. It felt like once all the exchange of replacements, that kind of...
It kind of made the game a bit disjointed,
Yeah,
right?
it can do one of two things in a game where you really need some impact. They can bring a bit of energy, or if it's a game that's high impact and you're going really well, they can deflate the air out of the tires too. Yeah. So I think it was a little bit of that. Not to say that any of the replacements came on and played particularly poorly. It just has an impact when you change 10 bloody players across the whole game. So it was, it was, and it wasn't actually bad rugby to watch. It was relatively entertaining all the way through. I really enjoyed the first half. Obviously, just watching us click, like showing no signs of rust. You know, sorry, I had a bit of gas there.
Good times.
The gas was good times, or the rugby?
But both.
I rang you today though, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah.
I didn't spoil the result for you straight off the bat.
No.
I wanted to check in with you first.
Yes, I rang you. Why did I? Because I rang you because we were recording this on a Sunday. We usually record this on a Monday, but I've got to go away later in the week, so it was going to be tricky to do. But I rang you and I said, it's 5 minutes to go. It's 41 points to 5, and that wasn't the end score with the Australians. And I hadn't watched the All Blacks. And you didn't spoil it for me.
I didn't spoil it.
Thank you for not spoiling it for me. I did have a game spoiled for me this week.
Oh.
So, what do you want to say anything more about the All Blacks? What else?
What about? I talked about you sang Sam Cane's praises.
Yes.
And about how he was hitting anything that came within like a meter of him.
Yeah.
What about that little kid at the end of the game?
Oh, yeah.
The little pitch invader.
What's it?
He's a kid. He's like maybe a 12-year-old. I don't know. He's like running around on the pitch. And Sam Cane sees him coming and just sticks a leg out to trip the little prick over.
Yeah.
And the crowd didn't like it. And the security guard didn't take advantage of the fact that he was on the ground to pounce on him. They're just kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And then he just got up and kept running. And he's had to apologize, and it's all a big drama.
Is it really a big drama, or is it something?
I don't know. It feels like a bit of a storm in a teacup, but
yeah, it's funny. But was he going to get done for assault or something stupid, or like?
Shouldn't be on the pitch really. If I'm being a bit of a killjoy, but it is a kid.
He's going to play next week.
Don't know. It's a weird one because if we can get on to next week's games, or anything you want to say about the kid, would you smash him, tackle him, leave him be?
I would. What would I do to the child? So much of my humor is based on inappropriate things to say. So
maybe not with children.
In my mind goes, and I'm like, no, I can't say that. Can't. No, that's bad. So no, I would
just leave him be.
I might tap him on his head.
Right.
Or I might say, you, cut that out, would you? Use my best dad tone. Have you got a dad tone for your kids?
Yeah, for sure.
Can I hear it?
No.
Okay.
Don't do it on command. I need to get the emotions.
Yeah, I use dad tone this evening.
Oh, yeah?
My daughter doesn't really react to it. Okay. Oh, she does a little bit. Yeah, dad tone. Dad tone.
So the Springboks have sent 12 players here. So they mean Malcolm Marx is among them. Eben Etzebeth, Cheslin Colby.
They've been having a great time in the rain.
Some good players. Are they going to be more well rested compared to the All Blacks?
Probably. Where was Takiaho this week, by the way?
I don't know if he travelled or not. I feel like, because a lot of those Chiefs and Crusaders guys didn't play. Some of them did.
So we might have a few of them to come back. That might restore our stocks. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to play some sort of factor. But also the fact that there's a lot of South Africans that still going to need to travel as well, and it's at Mount Smart.
Which is a weird one.
Yeah, Go Media Mount Smart. That's what it's called these days, which is
rugby
the
league
home
ground.
of the Warriors, who got another great one in the weekend. But I am bloody excited about it, and I think there's a lot to take from it. I know they're kind of the closest thing that we have to pre-World Cup friendlies now, basically, this tournament. But a test match with the All Blacks in South Africa,
Especially after both those results. That's so tasty.
and they'll both want to be able to,
Yeah.
There's a good chance they're going to meet each other at World
Yeah.
Cup. They'll want to get like psychological edge on the other team. And, being at home for the All Blacks will be, thinking that this is a game that they need to win
For sure.
for not
Because
only.
the last time they toured here, they drew with us. And the previous time, they beat us.
It's a shame it's not at Eden Park, though.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah, but great stadium.
Because the Women's World Cup's on.
Yeah, that's right.
So the Eden Park's booked out.
Yeah, it's they.
Why didn't they just play it in, I don't know, Hamilton or something? Like, how many does Mount Smart seat compared to Hamilton?
I think it's more I think you can fit maybe 25,
It's
26,
similar.
26,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Auckland needs a test match.
Okay.
You okay with that? I didn't like it this week. I would have really liked some Saturday night view. I watched the Warriors on Saturday night, but it kind of didn't get the hype it needed in New Zealand, because everyone was like, okay, so one of the games is on at 3 a.m, and the other one is on at 7. Oh, wicked, on a Sunday morning. The one day I have to sleep in. So there were a lot of people who are like, not so psyched about it, not a lot of coverage and all that sort of stuff. But there's, whether when we're playing Australia or South Africa week 1 at Eden Park at 7:30, and then that the other game's happening immediately afterwards, that's a tasty little Saturday night.
It's not bad.
Which we're going to have that this week, though, aren't we?
Yes, because the Aussies are playing in Australia. How's that'll go?
I think both of those teams will be looking to bounce back. By the way, what a stupid thing to say. No, I think both of those teams are going to be looking to put in another shithouse performance, Yeah, that's a lot of rugby punditry is just saying the most
Generic
obvious
stuff.
things you possibly can. But it's true, they'll both be wounded by that performance. They'll be deeply butthurt by it.
I'll be keen to see if they ring the changes or if they kind of stick consistent. Because there's just so few tests between now and the World Cup. Like, if you're going to give Carter Gordon a start for the Wallabies,
This is it.
you have to do it. If you're going to give these Sevens guys a crack for Michael Cheika's guys, you got to do it. When do you
When's
do it?
Langy Gleeson back from?
I'm not sure.
He could be screwed. No, Mark Nawidawasi, he could hopefully get a start and maybe in place
I don't
of-
think Vinny Valu will get another go.
Yeah, he didn't play particularly well. And
He wasn't even that good in Super Rugby, which is the weird thing.
And he got the bin. Is
Yeah,
it just? Do you think
there's
they
a
just?
deliberate knock
Do you think
on.
he just looks like he's a great athlete? Obviously, when you look at him, and he probably got a great time on the sprints, and probably got a great time, great vertical and all that sort of stuff. And they think, okay, it's going to be an aerial battle. They're going to want to go at us in the
But
air.
then they didn't aerial battle him.
Yeah, no, they didn't. They totally double bluffed them.
Yeah.
Do you think that they just? I don't know. Is this the time to show? Do you think there was a game like that, where they're clearly on top and they're on top for a good period of the game? Do you think when the Boks are in a situation when it's a knockout game, it's tight, that they're going to revert back to type, put the pass away, and just go to the skies?
I feel like they're a team who can play whatever's in front of them. If they find they're
Do
playing
you really
a team,
think so?
Yeah.
And they haven't been in the past. They've been set to a very strict structure.
sometimes that's just the way the game plays out. Like,
It's
Ninaba has talked about it, like, when the journos would always give him grief about, like, why are you kicking it so bloody much? And he'd just be like, sometimes the way the opposition defence sets up, the kick option's there, so we take it. So
Yeah.
I feel like they can. They can. Like, it's like rock, paper, scissors, right? If someone else is bringing something that can, and you need to have that. Like, remember Joe Schmidt back in 2018? They had this like system which was all conquering, and then everyone was like, I think we can beat that.
Yeah.
The New Zealanders basically set up to beat that rush defence of the Irish, watch their set plays and stuff, and we flogged them in the quarters, only to get
That's right.
flogged the week after.
Yeah, which was a disappointing performance. So tell me, who is going to win? All Blacks, South Africa, Mount Smart, 7:30. whatever next Saturday is in date form. Oh, there's
I know it's tough.
tension. I know. I think
I feel like my gut tells me the All Blacks at home should win. But
we're biased though,
if
as well.
the South Africans were to win, would I be surprised? Like, no.
I'd be very disappointed.
I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Put it
no.
that way.
No,
I think I'm less confident going into this one than I would be most matches with the All Blacks. I'm like, generally, when we're at home,
Yeah.
we're probably going to win.
Yeah, we are probably going to win
Because we don't
Like,
lose many home matches.
but it's not Eden Park, is it?
No, it does have that kind of air of the unknown.
If it
about
was Eden Park, you'd be like,
we
somehow
we should win it.
we'll find a way somehow.
exactly.
Somehow that hallowed ground will
Yeah,
once
well,
again protect us.
Exactly.
Haven't lost there since 1994, ladies and gentlemen. But
What
yeah,
were you doing in 1994? Primary school.
I was obsessed with my own penis at that age.
It's the same as what you're doing now. Good to see something's never changed.
1994 was last year of
Primary school.
primary school. I was in Mrs. Fitzgibbon's class. She was a former nun, but she fell in love with a man and dropped down the nunnery, but was still like taught like a strict Catholic nun.
Okay.
So yeah, she didn't like me too much.
I bet.
She didn't like me, but she did like me at the same time.
Well, you
know?
both apparently were quite interested in penises. If she dropped out of the nunnery,
No.
you were
I
obsessed
was-
with your own. So
I was one of those cheeky shit kids, but I would just also be smiling and cheerful in nature.
Okay.
Similar to how I am now, basically. So she's like, you're a shite, Tony, but you're
You're a likable one.
a likable shite.
Well, there was some rugby on Saturday, and it was
Yes.
the All Blacks 15 against the Japan 15.
Can I tell
So
you?
not a test match. I know it clashed with the Warriors, and you weren't watching it.
Hey, well, no.
As soon as that game was on, and I could see on my Sky Sport little app, I was like, "Oh, it's on the same time with the Warriors." I knew you were watching the Warriors.
100% I'm watching the
I mean,
Warriors.
that's the Warriors
Warriors-
game is a legit has meaning on the line game, and this
Oh,
is
yeah.
a tiered like
Nothing.
a B team against the B team.
Right now, the Warriors and the way they're running, I get as excited about a Warriors game as I do about an All Black Test match.
Right.
Like, and more so than yesterday morning's game against Argentina because I was very confident we were going to win that. It's
Right.
comparable
Comparable.
to any decent sized Test match. But yeah, so I watched that. We won.
Yes.
48-6 or something.
Bit of a hiding.
Take that, Parramatta. Parramatta had a lot of players out due to Origin, had a few key injuries as well. But still, you want to put those teams away when they're on offer. But anyway, I could talk about the Wires if you want me to, but I won't.
UFC and the Wires.
I had it all lined up. I told Lydia, okay, I'm going to watch this game.
Yeah.
Immediately after, I'm going to watch the 15s, and then I'm going to spend half the night watching the Ashes. Love the fucking Ashes.
I haven't watched it. Apart from that
cracking.
controversial dismissal, which was all over social
Johnny
media,
Bairstow.
I haven't seen a second of the Ashes.
Yeah, I love the Ashes. Love the cricket. It was just Australians being Australians and English being what they are, whingers. But I'm supporting the English in that. But I had a point where I was going. Yeah, so I was watching the Wars, and then I'm on a group chat.
Oh, yeah.
And then somebody just one of my mates sent a message saying, is anyone watching this freaking pathetic excuse for a rugby game? The All Black 15s? And I was like, and then somebody else responded real quick and he was like, there's just a lot of All Black wannabes showing why they're not All Blacks. And then I was thinking to myself, shit.
Are we losing?
Are we losing? Or are we doing bad? And then,
Yeah.
And I thought we were playing Japan, but we're playing the Japan 15, who seem to have all the same players. As
Mostly. They had a few uncapped guys, but largely they're guys who've played for Japan
Like Leach
before.
and stuff.
Either this year, like last year, or the year before. A couple of the guys you hadn't seen for a
Jamie
couple of years,
Joseph and Tony Brown are in they look like the Japan team to me.
for the most part.
But anyway, so I didn't. So then I was like, and then it just turned into. I went from me being like, because I remember enjoying the 15s last year. I was like, went from me being kind of interested and looking slightly forward to it, not super psyched, but like that'll be a good watch. I'll watch that. And then it went from that to being like,
It's a bit of a chore.
it's gonna be a freaking chore. And then I turned it on, and then my app. You got very fluffy socks on this evening.
Oh,
mate.
it's cold.
Like, you want to show them your fluffy socks?
No.
Can
I think they're possum.
Can
I feel like
I'm
my
gonna
mum
take one
get-
off your foot if you don't show
No,
them.
no.
I'm
For God's sake, leave me alone. This is assault.
I just want to just show them though. Just
They're fluffy
hold
red
them up
socks.
hold them up to the crowd.
People don't care about the socks. The podcast listeners can't even
Comment below if you want to see Mark's socks. They want to see them.
They're just red fluffy socks.
Anyway, so I went on to. They are very fluffy.
I think they're possum.
They're like a sort of an orangey sort of Jafferish.
I definitely didn't buy them, but they are very warm.
Well, that's good. Anyway, so I got the text. It was gonna be a dog shit game. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a real dirge to watch. And then I turned on the app, and then I was trying to like fast forward the anthems, and then it just went straight to the end, or near the end. It was like 31-5, and I thought, oh well,
6. It finished 38-6.
They didn't score a try, did they? 31-6. I thought it was 31-6 at the time, and I was like, that's not that bad. I was like, that's kind of what I expected. Then I was like, oh, is this just going to be a freaking painful watch? And then I went through it, and I watched it like on like 10 speed, just fast forwarding between the tries, basically, because I thought it would just be
There were a lot of errors.
Yeah, well, I didn't even watch any of it. So, because my mate screwed the pooch on me. Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. But I didn't watch.
There were a lot of errors. I mean,
was it real scrappy?
The first half was really scrappy.
Great looking crowd.
Great looking crowd. There was huge wind though. Like there was a real wind behind the Japanese guys in the first half. Like one of the guys kicked it and it just freaking flew. It was just like just bounce. Like it went way longer. You know, your eye kind of thinks you see it flying. You're like, all right, it's going to end up about here.
Yeah.
Nah, it just kept going.
Wow.
It was a huge wind. So yeah, the All Blacks when they had the wind behind them in the second half.
Scratchy performance, a lot of wind, and just showed as opposed to the Boks and the All Black A team.
Yeah, there's not really any guys in that team apart from maybe Weber and Fakatava, who you will look at. You didn't look at any of those guys and go, that guy showed why he needs to be in the All Blacks. Not really.
Yeah, right. No one was
Not
like,
really.
oh, he just looks like a man playing boys.
Yeah, not
Good
really.
Hugh, how did he travel?
It was all right.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah, nothing like when you looked at how Geordie played.
Moni.
Or Rico. Who?
The other Chiefs winger, what's his name? Moni.
Oh, Nana Tatoro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was all right. Got a try.
And then Akira.
He was all right. Yeah, again, that's just like all right. Like a lot of kind of 6 or 7s.
One of my faves, he's never going to be an All Black, but he's still one of my faves, Ricky Riccatelli.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was all right.
Just like solid.
Just looked like some good New Zealand rugby players playing some...
The Japanese guys definitely need more game time before the World Cup.
They were horrible.
Yeah, just again, rust, man. They just look like a bunch of guys, kind of like the Argentinians did in that first half. Just like they were, it was apparently bloody hot. It was like 30-something degrees.
But a cool,
And like the Japanese guys in the start of the game were just flying out of the line, rush defense, making the All Blacks guys make mistakes.
Yeah.
But they couldn't keep it up. It's just too hot.
When you have wind at any temperatures like above 31, 32,
It's pretty uncomfortable.
the wind isn't even cooling. It's just
it's
hot.
horrible. Yeah. They asked in the post-match on-field interview, they asked Brad Weber because he's captain. Like, how did you find the game? And he's just like, hot. Like, that's the first thing he said.
Playing
It's
in a
just like,
hairdryer.
yeah, he's like, this is very different from what we just left in New Zealand with my fluffy socks. Yeah.
Can you please show them your socks?
There you go.
Look at those sexy things. Damn. Anyone else got a Sam Cane? Okay. Oh, yeah. So it wasn't nothing to ride home.
You could quite happily miss that one and not be missing out on a lot.
Yeah, I watched the post match and
Fakatava looked good when he came on though. He scored a magic try.
He did actually. I saw that try. I saw the tries.
Yeah,
they seemed alright.
Yeah.
The post match in Japan is pretty painful to watch.
The translation?
Yeah, the translation just seems to take a long time. And then Brad Weber can't understand the translator. It's like, sorry, I don't know. And then it's like, you're having that you're
moment.
like, am I racist because I can't understand what it was a little bit awkward. Yeah.
He made a joke about drinking sake. I'm not sure if she translated that. He's like, I think we've earned like a drink of water, maybe a sake. But I don't know if the Japanese joke about sake.
Sake is nothing better.
Don't know. Never been. But 38-6. They're playing again this coming week, and it's going to be the All Blacks 15 against Japan proper. But I would imagine it's a very similar team that runs out on the field.
And they're maybe wearing the red this time.
The red instead of the zebra.
Black and white.
Yeah.
Well, odd game, but yeah, what a crowd.
Yeah.
What a crowd.
A great crowd.
And a great crowd at in Argentina too.
Yes.
Felt sorry for them a little bit that
Great,
first
yeah,
time.
they were so quiet after the All Blacks ran in, like
Yeah.
their second try.
There's one thing I noticed about the Japan crowd as well. I was like, they're a lot
Very
like,
quiet.
They're like a New
All
Zealand
Blacks
crowd.
fan, yeah,
They're
yeah.
just like,
They sit there politely. Yeah.
ooh.
They were under instructions, I know, because I watched a bit of the old sumo. I haven't watched it for a wee while. But the sumo fans were told, because sumo's indoors, and especially during COVID, you're not allowed to cheer. You're allowed to clap, but because of cheering is going to get COVID
They're
everywhere.
very compliant people, aren't they? Yeah.
So maybe that thing is still stuck. Like you're just not supposed to. I don't know. Maybe there's always like that. I can't remember.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
That's fucking weird. Sorry.
There was another flipping game of rugby this weekend. The MLR final.
And my boys are in it.
Ma'anonu's San Diego Legion, who'd lost one game all season,
But they didn't have enough to match my Jackers.
go up against the New England Free Jacks, who I think had lost 2 games all season. This game clashed with, I forget it, which I think it was the second Rugby Championship game, so I didn't watch it. Again, like you, I was going to watch it straight after the Rugby Championship game, but
Yes.
I'd gotten up at 3 a.m. I was buggered.
You'd made
I was
YouTube videos.
Yeah, I'd done my videos. I'm like, and then my kids run around. I got to take them to my parents' house. I'm like, nah, sorry.
I'm not
So I watched the highlights. It's like
You're meant to be the world's biggest advocate of the MLR.
I know.
You bastard.
There were like 4 or 5. It was a proper final.
Is this Nonu's last professional
I
game?
don't know, maybe. He kind of. I only saw the highlights,
Did he shit the
but
bed?
he shot up out of the line for one of the Jackers' first tries, and then the Jackers were behind with 5 minutes to go, and then he kind of gets run around by one of the Jackers towards the end. So maybe that's just kind of 40-year-old leagues and not quite as fast as some of the younger guys. So the Free Jacks end up winning it.
He's older than us, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. 25-24. Like, what a scoreline for a final. And, I mean, there was like 4 or 5 lead changes. So proper final. Well done, Free Jacks.
And you had it in your Jackers. That's great. Well, I can't wait. There might be a little TCGD down the track for you, Jack boys.
Best team name.
Best team in the world. The award goes to the New England Free Jack.
There was another game on. I also missed this one, but I have seen the highlights. The Black Ferns and the Pacific Fours played Canada.
I watched the Black Ferns play Australia. Was it last week?
Right.
Can I talk about last week for a second?
Go on then.
So you and I make this once a week generally.
Generally.
But there was like 3 weeks in a row where there was like no rugby at all, and like there was just Super Rugby, and we were covering like 1 or 2 games in the week or something like that, and like not a lot of international interest. And we're like, look, there won't be much on that week. There's literally no games. But like,
there was MLR semi-finals, and then there was the Black Ferns playing Australia.
But then there were like these massive
News
developments, and then every other YouTuber in the world was like, "Time to get hyped about the Rugby Championship," and doing these big Rugby Championships.
Like, we're having a week off.
Well, we thought there wouldn't be, and I was like, "That's so dumb. Why didn't
we talk preview?"
Yeah, exactly. We did a preview for the Six Nations, but we didn't do a preview for. So take this as our post first game preview. About the games to come, not the games that have already happened.
That's how that
was a
works.
review. It was a review and a preview.
Yeah. So the Black Ferns hammered the Aussies.
Yeah, they did.
Weirdly, did you know that game was on?
I did actually.
How did you know?
I follow Alice Soper,
Okay.
on Twitter, and
Right.
she was doing
some hype stuff about it.
She was
Okay.
getting pretty hyped about it.
Because I follow the Black Ferns on Twitter, and although
Yeah.
they did tweet about it, none of it made its way to my feed. And I don't think I saw any advertising for it. And I asked my mum and dad, because they are more likely consumers of kind of traditional media, radio, regular
right.
TV. And I was
TVNZ
like,
stuff.
did you guys know the Black Ferns played the Wallaroos? And they were just like, no. Even after the game, they were like, oh, no, who won?
Yeah, right.
So I don't know if that one was better. Whereas the Canada game, I did see some kind of hype pieces.
It's sad because it's the first Test match after that incredible World Cup win. You maybe think, all right, our team's back in it, everybody. Yeah. Let's get into it. We didn't even get one of those really sad. I don't remember seeing one of those sad Sky ads. Like, it's women's rugby. It's lit. Check it out. Get into it. Sky Sports. Yeah. Giving you no context, no emotive reason to watch it. Didn't even see one of those, really. Poor old Ella Soper. Soper?
Soper. Barry
saw-
Soper's daughter.
Ah.
Barry Soper on 1ZB.
Ah, how about that, eh?
Married to Heather Duplessis Allen.
Really?
Yeah, there's a big age gap between those two.
And Heather Duplessis Allen is...
They've got a kid.
Oh, really?
He's like 70.
Isn't Heather Duplessis Allen like quite a hard right winger as well?
I think they're both.
And
are.
Ella Soper...
Soper is like, totally different from her dad.
And she's pretty left leaning and all that sort of thing. Which,
Just like political differences in the family.
I wonder what their family chats are like. What are your family chats like when it comes to politics?
I never gave two shits about politics, which is a weird one
Right.
because my dad was always hardcore Labour.
Was
And
he?
my brother, growing up as a university student, was like hardcore Greens.
Ah.
So, like, literally one election in our front yard,
But
or
they're
my
both-
parents' old house, we literally had a Labour and a Greens billboard because they'd both
Wow.
contacted the local parties to put up billboards.
And they're still in that?
I don't think my brother's is into the Greens anymore.
Yeah,
I think the
voted-
Green Party's changed a lot since
I
he was a
think-
university
yeah,
student.
yeah,
They've gone
the
a bit
Greens-
more
the Greens have
kind
gone-
of extremely, less environmentally and
Yeah,
more
they're not the Janet Fitzsimons
No.
days are not so much
quite
around.
different. This is
It's-
New Zealand politics chat.
Yeah, it's more the other days now. Good for them. Anyway, yes, I'm the same as your brother. I was very left leaning. I think they say, what is it? They say if you're 21 and you're not basically a socialist, you don't have a heart, and if you're 41 and you're still a socialist, you don't have a brain.
Right.
So I think it's
It's about right.
about right.
I just think they're all a bunch of wankers.
I think you're about right. They're all,
If you have a political party you are particularly fond of, cool beans.
well done.
I just don't. It's like the Marvel
I'm not-
movies. I'm just not into them.
They do impact our lives quite a bit.
Yeah, they do.
A lot more than Captain America does.
I don't know. I think Captain America influenced me probably more than
Than
all of those
Christopher
things.
Luxon.
Oh, what's his nickname? Checkers.
Chippy.
Chippy. That was something
Christopher, there's two Chris's who are going for the
Luxon.
Luxon and Hipkins. So they
Yep.
call Chris Hipkins Chippy, Chip, C Hip. Yeah. Which I had to explain to you a couple of
I get
podcasts
it
ago.
now. Yeah.
And then there's Christopher Luxon, who's
Clucks?
Clucks. Yeah.
that what- is that what
he
they
looks
call
like Mr. Potato, basically.
I don't care about politics at all.
Are you going to vote?
I'll vote.
All right. Okay.
I-
Anyway, what
I-
were we talking about before we went on this really, really fascinating,
Really random.
New Zealand politics chat?
Speaking of politics, the rugby world has been flipped on its head politically with this new World League
Can I tell you something?
innovation.
Before we go into this, can I have a bone with one of our viewers? One of our viewers who I generally like.
Okay.
Rian.
Rian.
Yeah, not Rian. Oh, yeah, Rian. Don't
He
you
called you out.
I'm coming for you, you twat. No, not him. Actually, not a fake beef. This is more real. This is more personal.
Oh, okay.
Junaid, what's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Junaid something or other. He wrote, he was like, oh, it's good to see, well, he said something along the lines of, what a surprise. Tony's opinion is exactly the same as Jeff Wilson's again. And I was like,
Oh,
I can't think of anybody I disagree with more than Jess Wilson. And
Shots
then
fired,
then he
Junaid.
did his little laughing face. And I honestly was like, first response was, go f yourself. Then I deleted that. And then I was like, deleted that. And then I just wrote nice one. But yeah, I was like, what do you mean? So number one, he's saying that I'm like just taking my opinions from...
You're watching the breakdown and you're going, that's what I have to think this week.
I don't know, maybe there's like some sort of osmosis and you
Yeah.
hear a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I generally disagree with a lot of...
I feel like I used to agree with Jeff Wilson more, but
He's a
over the
smart
years,
guy,
he's just been going more and more.
Anyway, I love you, Junaid.
Yeah.
In that moment, I was irritated with you. Though.
Junaid's a top bloke.
Yeah, I did write nice one. Just wrote-
Someone in the comments also mentioned that I need to stop wearing the winners' jerseys in my review videos because it is a spoiler for people who haven't
You
seen
don't
the
always
game.
win, right? But once you're actually watching it, you already should know the
Yeah,
result.
why are you on YouTube if you don't want to know the result?
The only thing that gets you now is that the
They put it in
thumbnails start to play.
Well, don't go on YouTube if you want to not be spoiled. Bro.
There are other things to watch on YouTube as opposed to rugby. But if your whole algo is set up for rugby,
If you are like, I really want to watch this game and not be spoiled, like if that's important to you, then you need to make better decisions.
you did it to me.
Yes, but you should not be on YouTube.
I wasn't going to
Look,
click on anything.
if I'm not trying to be spoiled, the
I was
rules
gonna- I was
are
looking
no
to see-
Twitter, no YouTube, no Reddit, and no Gaza. Because Gaza will call me up like, how about those Argentinians,
So you
son?
don't-
I'm like, God damn it, Dad.
So he sends you one of his long
No,
messages.
he'll call me. Well, yeah. Sometimes send me a message, yeah, but no Gaza.
Right, okay.
And also, you got to be careful in the car. The car radio can get you. Because you're just driving along, music, and then it's like, and in the Six Nations, England had a good win. Damn it. Yeah, so you got to be very careful. But if it's important to you, you need to make life choices, which
it's going to be
align.
hard, this one, because I'm terrible at waking up in the morning. I really am. I don't even wake up at 7 a.m. to watch the All Blacks today. Yeah.
Sad.
Is that sad? But I didn't spoil it.
It's practical. As long as you don't know the result, it doesn't really matter.
But it was weird. I was just like thinking, I was like, I can't check Twitter. I can't go on stuff. I can't do my usual Sunday morning sort of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, it's a dicey game. And I'm worried about the World Cup as it approaches. There's going to be a lot of like early morning games that you have to either watch live or just spend half the day off.
Shut yourself off from all that stuff.
But then I'm going to wake up and have to work. Oh, okay. Maybe. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. How's that?
World League.
Yes.
So not in British and Irish Lions years.
Can I tell you?
Not in Rugby World Cup years.
So,
but all the Tier 1 countries, well, all the Six Nations countries, all the Rugby Championship countries, and it'll definitely be Japan. And one other, probably Fiji. Will play off in some kind of like replace the June, July, and November tests.
Can I start with what I like about it?
I also went to start with that point, but yeah, you go.
So
I did a video about it.
I did not. What I like about it is it maybe just makes games a little bit more meaningful at times. Like I think test matches in their very nature are meaningful.
Yeah, it's not like football where a friendly is just like it's a throwaway game.
No,
you never watch All Blacks Australia and think, just for the shits and giggles.
Yeah,
it never has that feeling.
I don't know
about
if it's the sort of physicality or the combativeness of the game, but it never feels that way ever. You're right. So, and also I'm quite a bit, it reminds me a little bit of the World Test Championship, which the New Zealanders won the first time that went round and the Australians have just won.
So I don't know anything about that. So does that mean that we don't get normal test series anymore, or test series count for points?
Test series count for points.
Okay.
Essentially. And it's really weird. You get points based on, it's not like you get 2 points for a win or anything like that.
Right, so based on strength of opposition?
Your strength of opposition.
But power rankings in there.
Basically. So it's all a bit
I think I might prefer that.
Yeah.
If they did that, like Ireland's coming to New Zealand, Ireland's ranked number 1, we're ranked number 3, they get X amount of points.
But if they're planning for it to be like a round robin where everybody plays each other the same amount of times, home and away or whatever they're going to do, then you don't really need to do it that way. But yeah, so I like that. It's going to add a bit of meaning. I like the fact that we're going to have a lot of high quality rugby to watch.
Yep.
But I think ultimately it's a short term money grab, and it's going to be a real body blow for the expansion of the game internationally, and for teams, the team that you've got, that everyone I think is thinking of and feeling for more than any other. Georgia, man. Georgia are a team that are really knocking on the higher tier rugby and being in that level. And I know they've talked about this promotion relegation stuff, but I did see your video and you made a really good point. You were like, if it's owned by the Six Nations and SANZA, do you think the Six Nations and SANZA are going to idly sit by as one of their top line teams? Gets relegated, relegated, and
you guys go off and play Samoa.
Yeah,
while
exactly.
Georgia gets all that sweet TV deal.
We'll take that financial blow, or do you think there'll be some sort of sub clause that gets them out of there? So I think it's basically it's just fencing off, and that was your point, and I wholeheartedly agreed it. And then I saw the bullshit. I did see this Junaid on the breakdown. And I
watched that as well because Gaz was like, "Oh, they love the idea," and I was like, "Oh, let me watch it."
Yeah, they're just jacking the idea off, because it's going to make money.
We're going to see some top quality rugby,
and
there's the door open for the teams like Georgia to get promoted. And I was like, in 2030,
and really, is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
only if it's like one of the invitational teams.
That was the really, really, it felt sinister them saying that.
Yeah.
I was like, that is absolute horseshit.
Yeah.
The fact that you're promoting it as a good thing for the expansion of the game.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think other people have brought up, Junaid, I'm sorry, I do have thoughts that other people do have sometimes as well, is does this devalue the World Cup in any way? You know, does it make it, does it, you know, well, we've already seen all these teams play each other with, you know, with big things on like, what's actually going to be called?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they've got a name yet, but I do feel like there will be a factor with that. Like, I notice it because in my lifetime, we've gone from touring South Africa to playing them yearly in the Rugby Championship.
Yeah, and the tours used to be great.
Tours used to be like, oh my God, we've got to go to South Africa. We never win tours over there. And we, in that last tour,
96.
we managed to finally win a bloody tour over there. And it was like,
it was
big deal.
It was
a
as
massive
big as
deal.
the World Cup at the
Yeah,
time.
basically, because we'd lost the World Cup the year before.
In South Africa, yeah.
In South Africa. So it was massive. So, I mean, we still
I
get
do
to...
a breakdown of that in my video.
Okay.
So of that second test.
Right.
One of the best test matches ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, incredibly physical, intense, hardcore rugby.
So I think that you can't have this competition and have it not impact your kind of connection with the World Cup. It'll just happen. I mean, I also mentioned a few things like, you know, we'll probably get to host Scotland or Italy for a change because we never host them. Like New Zealand only hosts big money teams like usually England or France or Ireland, like teams who are going to, you know, get a big broadcast thing. I think having a blanket broadcaster across will probably help, and it might, like the average casual fan over here might actually care what's happening with some other teams.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it will directly impact their own team. So it's not wholly a bad idea, but I do feel like you said, it's...
And my understanding is it's not a semi-final, like a quarterfinal, semi-final, final type thing. It's like who's got the points at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think all the details in that regard of
I hope it's not, because if it's like a semi-final, quarterfinal, final sort of thing,
then it's just a World Cup.
then it's just like the World Cup. So I hope it's more of the English Premier League model.
Yeah, man. But how the hell is Georgia going to get some games?
Well, can we get them some games in the British and Irish British?
Yeah,
Irish
there will be
Lions
during
years?
those years. Yeah,
What are they? They're every
it's every 4 years, just like the World
so
Cup.
basically every 4 years. So 2 of the years will be built up by this World Jack-Off League,
Yeah.
and then 2 of those 4 years will be also filled by the World Cup, which Georgia will be heavily involved in, and then also the British and Irish Lions.
Yeah.
Where basically a lot of the other teams are looking for quality opposition because England, Ireland, Wales are all going to one country. So hopefully they can get a bit of love there. Like, I'd love to see, it'd be great to see another world power kind of emerge. Like Italy just isn't really. I know they looked a lot better in the Six Nations, but the amount of opportunities and time they've had now, you'd hope they would be a little bit more advanced. Than
Yeah, Georgia beat them last year. Georgia
Yeah.
beat Wales.
Yeah.
And then Georgia, they've just been screaming out for more games, more games, more games. And interestingly, I remember looking at Japan's fixtures list as they kind of got better through the years. And they used to be playing, when they used to get hidings, they would only play, like, they would play Korea, they would play Hong Kong, they were stuck playing the Asian teams. Then they started playing, like, Tonga, Samoa, Fiji.
Yeah.
And then they started getting games against, you know, like Italy.
Yeah.
And they just started getting better opposition. And, I mean...
It's a slow process.
It's a factor within their rugby improving. So...
100%.
The thing is, Japan's got the money.
Yeah, they got a...
Nobody wants to go to Tbilisi because there's not going to be a big broadcast deal.
I couldn't name a Georgian city, so well done.
I only know Tbilisi.
Tbilisi. What a place Tbilisi is. Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of money in Georgia, and that just shows, you know, without the money...
Priorities.
They got the
Like,
grit.
New Zealand's happy to go to, like, America, happy to go to Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just New Zealand. I think New Zealand's played more Tier 2 teams in the last 10 years than, like, England has.
Yeah.
It's much of a muchness. Like, Scotland, I think, ends up playing the most. But, yeah, if anything, it's weird because in 2017, World Rugby had this big plan that they released. I think it was Beaumont that was like, there's going to be a 33% increase in Tier 1 versus Tier 2 and blah-de-blah. And now it's like, actually, fuck that.
We want the money.
We want the money.
Take
That was
the money and
pre-COVID,
run.
so we want that sweet quiche.
Yeah. So, like, I'm dubious about it, but then I'm pretty sure when it's actually on, I'll be freaking...
Watching it?
I'll be jacking it
I'm
off.
going to miss the 3-match tours, though.
Yeah, I love the old school tours.
Because you get to play them in that first game, and the loser gets to go, geez, we need a,
And I think the culture of a team really, develops and changes over
a tour,
when
right?
you've
It's
only
a
got each
special
other.
experience.
Yeah,
You stay, because like the Irish were here across that tour. I think it was great for them.
Yeah, and they're in the country. They're well and truly acclimatized, and for a weekend where
Yeah, you're not just stopping by.
Yeah, you're part of it. You really get the feel of the whole damn thing. Yeah, but I don't know. It's going to happen. Well, maybe you and I are just old men yelling in the wind.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think the reaction has generally been pretty negative, but maybe casual fans will just be like, "That's good."
Oh, really? Oh, so this matters here. Yeah.
Top teams against top teams. Like, if you ask a casual fan, do you want to see the All Blacks play like Ireland, Wales, and France this year, or do you want to see us go to Georgia? I feel like they're going to pick the first one.
But yeah, we have to pay that price to bring teams up and to grow the game.
Yeah, because then World Cups get more competitive. The game just gets more interesting.
100%. And how exciting is it when those lower teams do make quarterfinals?
Yeah, I mean, just look at Japan. We used to beat them by 100+ points at the World Cup, and then in
145.
2015 they beat freaking South Africa.
Isn't Mark Ellis the
They
all-time?
beat Ireland.
Isn't Mark Ellis the all-time try
Scored
scoring
a bunch
record
of
in
tries.
one game,
Yeah.
like 6 or something?
That development's
and
a good thing.
Simon Colhane is the all-time point scoring record in one game. Simon Colhane,
Of all people.
yeah, good old Southland man. Anyway, and finally, I think we spoke about it last time we had a podcast. The Kiwi lads had a copyright strike for one of our YouTubers. Resolved.
Yes.
And poor old Squidge got a copyright.
Got one from Supersport.
You bastards. That sucks, man. That's really... And he's the biggest. I think... I don't know. Maybe he's so big that he got attacked, but...
Surely, that's just a lawyer.
Yeah,
I think a lot of these places, like I know Sanzar does it, they employ
pass
a company
to
protect their copyright. So those companies that are getting paid on the basis of kind of how many copyright claims that they do or whatever, it's within their remit to just do as many as possible. They don't care.
Yeah, it's dog shit though, because
There needs to be a bit more nuance than that.
Channels.
Like if you're just uploading a full match, yeah, you're probably going to get struck.
I think that guy. Have you seen that guy Uggy? Have we talked about him before?
He's
Makes
good value.
Great videos.
Yep.
Really good quality stuff. Really seems really sharp. I think he had another channel that got closed down.
Really?
I think this might be a second channel. I'm not sure. If I'm wrong, I really apologize. So
there's definitely been a few channels which have been like there were those channels that used to do like they probably are still like the speed races, like this guy versus this guy, and they'll put the little tracking things and like the kilometers per hour they're running. And like every now and again, those would get like just struck.
Yeah, that sucks.
But
I'm a bit naughty with some of the stuff I do. I've managed to. I think I'm probably small enough. Just a sprat in the ocean, really. Not even that.
Luckily, my whiteboard's pretty safe.
You and your whiteboard.
Pretty safe.
Well, yeah. It's worrying with Kiwi lads and stuff. He was just using a logo or even the words.
True. The words.
Back off, rugby copyright powers.
Stop being
We're
dickheads.
trying to grow your game, you dumb bastards. We really are. Trying to get more. If the more successful we are, the more people are actually going to watch the match day experience.
This is it.
And it seems a really simple argument. Really not hard to sort of argue that. Anyway, look, we've talked about
A bunch of games. And some politics.
some politics, some YouTube shit, some very tiny amount of women's rugby. They beat the Canadians, by the way.
Yeah, what was it?
Solidly.
52-21.
Yeah.
Duplessis for the Black Ferns looked particularly impressive.
We talked about the sober political history of their family, which is, I'm sure everyone's going to be really...
You were going to mention something about the Wallaroos game. You saw that one.
Yeah, there was a pounding.
They got
The Black,
milled.
the Black folks pounded them. But anyway, mate, look, well done. Sorry, everybody, that we weren't here last week. I'm sure you really missed us. Did you miss them?
Definitely.
Well, you see them a lot more than I did. Yeah. But anyway, thank you very much. Kakita. Oh, hold on. They can listen to this.
Apple Podcasts.
iHeartRadio.
Google Podcasts.
Wherever you get your
Give us a rating and a review. I'll read it out next week.
Yes, okay. Well, if you give us a rating and a review, as long as it's not shit, we probably...
Well, Can Form a Sentence was pretty... maybe a bit overpraised.
I
don't
can
know.
not... Yes? Sentence? See, yeah, that was...
Podcast good we are.
Bye.
See you,
Arrida.
folks.